It's real talk. Man, it's real talk with your main Chip Washington. When it comes to information, the man got an arsenal. Bring you up to speed with what you need. He's the local and nationwide news feed. Let's talk about it. Dialect to do something about it. Chip got the flow wide open if you got questions about it. Man, it's the show that brings you to your raw. To solve all problems, it starts with real talk. Real talk. It's 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 real talk. Yeah. Welcome to Real Talk with your host, Chip Washington. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk.
And here we go. On this Monday evening in the city, I believe it's the 18th day of May, 2026, 6 o'clock straight up, which means, ladies and gentlemen, what you have all been waiting for, an all new and live edition of Real Talk Memphis coming your way right now. Welcome in, and if I didn't say it, welcome in. To the next hour of information and education, and maybe a little fun mixed in as well. We're here till 7 p.m. Central Time, and sit back, relax, buckle in, and get ready to enjoy another information-packed broadcast. I'll get into the guest list and all of that kind of stuff in just a couple of minutes, but how do you get this fine piece of radio broadcasting? I know, look, whether I heard you ask me or not, I know that you asked that question, so I'm here with the answer. Many, many ways, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, we're live on 91.7 on your FM dial. That would be WYXR. We are also available on the WYXR app. You can also find us live tonight on the TuneIn app. And we are live streaming this evening, so you can check us out on Facebook Live. And to do that, just go to my page, Chip Washington, and you will see the broadcast live if that's how you choose to watch what we do here as well. And once the show is posted, you'll be able to hear it on YouTube, the audio version. And when the show is posted, if you didn't know, we're a podcast, which means that we are heard all over the country on various podcast platforms. So pick the one you choose, pick the one you like and you listen to, and call up Real Talk Memphis with Chip, and you will be able to check out the show. So there you go. A lot of ways for you to, so no excuses as to why you would possibly miss this show. Okay, in terms of guests tonight, yeah, we have a lot to talk about, and I'm always grateful for my guests, but tonight is no exception to that rule. Up in just a couple of minutes, State Representative Karen Camper joins me. She is also the Minority House Leader. We all know by now about the redistricting that happened with the special session, and there was some follow up behind that by the Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton, because he felt like certain House Democrats did not act appropriately during that session, and so he decided to lay them off their committee assignments. He said, he sent them a fax and said, hey, you, so and so and so and so and so. Starting now, as of today, you are stripped of your committee assignments. Why? Because you didn't act right during the special session. You instigated the crowd. You didn't act with decorum. You didn't act with respect, the whole 9 yards. So I'm going to punish you even more. The redistricting part wasn't enough. Let's just add a little bit more layer to all of that. So we're going to talk with State Representative Karen Camper about that, and she is not happy, to say the least. A little bit later on, in case you were not aware, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And, I want to always try to acknowledge things like this. And one of the things that has troubled me, especially recently, is what is happening with our young people. We're seeing a lot of increased violence as pertains to our young people and our teens. There's always something behind something. So I wanted to have a conversation about that tonight. And I reached out to Alliance Healthcare Services, who just opened a branch, by the way, of Children and Youth Services. And I have their director is going to be with me this evening. She is Dr. Mallory Mitchell. She's the medical director of that Children and Youth Services facility that they have here in the city for our young people. And we're going to talk a little bit about all of that coming up a little bit later on. And in the second half hour of the show, what is happening across the country in reference to redistricting lines from a Democrat to Republican, diluting the black vote here in Tennessee and other places as well. A lot of people who have been around and done a lot of work and study in this particular area, which is called civil rights, by the way, are thinking that this really is taking us back to a very undesirable time in this country's history, especially as it pertains to African Americans. So I brought an expert on the civil rights era on the show tonight. He is a Rhodes College professor. His name is Dr. Charles McKinney. He's also a civil rights expert, and we're going to lay all of this out, where we are now versus where we were back in 1965, and does this in any way relate to what happened back in the days when we were fighting for voting rights. So a very interesting conversation I'm looking forward to with him in the second half hour. So there you go. That's a nice rundown, right, of the guests who are going to be on the show. But right now we celebrate. May is a big birthday month, and we always like to shout out folks who take that trip around the sun. It's not promised to us, and God says, hey, I'm going to bring you around one more year. That's a good thing. And we always like to celebrate that with what I like to call the shout out. So without further ado, hit it, Brent. So we have a few tonight, not many, but a few. Colin Burris, who is the Memphis fire chief. By the way, he's celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday, Colin. Happy birthday to Paris Smith, to Jennifer Stanley, and to Aisha Rashans. That small list today on the 18th day of May. But nonetheless, from all of us here at Real Talk Memphis, we wish you a very, very happy birthday. I hope that this day has been filled with love and laughter as you navigate that trip around the sun one more again. And we hope to be with you next year when you take your next trip around the sun. Happy birthday from all of us here at Real Talk Memphis. Thank you, Brand. Some news and notes. Memphis and Shelby County Schools have announced that they have retained the services of an attorney. You remember they were trying to get funding. The mayor, county mayor, Lee Harris, was trying to get funding from their emergency fund, a couple of $100,000, to be able to retain the services of an attorney to fight this takeover that the state is doing. Well, they not only approved the money, they have hired an attorney in their effort to deny the state from this potential takeover effort. We will see as time moves along how all of that progresses, and I'm sure we will keep you posted. By the way, all third graders, I don't know if you heard this or not, all third graders in statewide, by the way, are going to have to take the reading portion of the TCAP test. All third graders, by the way, and many of them, it depends on whether they'll be promoted or not. This will be done the final 2 days of the school year. In case you were wondering, school is out this week. Memphis and Shelby County school children and young adults will be out of school Thursday. Thursday is the last day of school, the 21st. And these tests have to be taken, so I would imagine they would be taken on Wednesday and Thursday. Good luck trying to find a lot of students around here who may still be in town, for all of this. But apparently this has a lot to do with the test scores not coming in the way they should, and it has a lot to do with the possibility of retaining some young folks if they don't pass this test. But for sure, they're going to have to go to summer school or summer enrichment or whatever they call it in terms of all of that. Tony Carruthers, you may have heard this story. He's a Tennessee inmate. He's scheduled to be executed this Thursday in Nashville, unless Tennessee Governor Bill Lee chooses to halt his execution. There has been a petition that has been signed apparently by about 100,000 people in this state that will be presented to the governor should he choose to look at it. Carruthers has been in prison for 30 plus years on death row. He was convicted in a 1994 Memphis kidnapping and murder case. All the people who are protesting his execution are saying that there's some test results that need to come back in terms of all this to DNA. We're talking about DNA testing that could come back and might exonerate him, but it doesn't look as if the governor is going to change his mind. But again, this is going to happen in a couple of days on May 21st. Late this afternoon in California, San Diego to be exact, there was a shooting at a synagogue, a rather large synagogue with a school and a lot of other things. Apparently there were 5 people killed. 2 of those people were suspects, and apparently, according to law enforcement, they were teen suspects, and 3 others were killed as well as a result of all of this. There's a lot of questions, obviously, that need to be answered in reference to this. As I said earlier, the police think that this was a hate crime. So when you put teens and hate crime together, that to me, automatically spells, a rather large issue. So we'll have to wait and see how all of that unfolds. But no doubt, a very bad, tragic situation out in San Diego today. And finally, there was a video released today by the DA's office locally. You remember the No Kings rally that they had here about a month or so ago, give or take? A lot of people were marching downtown, and then the police got involved. And next thing you know, pepper spray was sprayed. 3 individuals were arrested and detained at that. Well, the DA released the video of that today. If you hadn't seen it, go to any one of your news sites and you'll be able to see that video, about 8, 9 minutes worth of the video in terms of what happened. Again, I don't know if you remember, but I had one of the people from Indivisible Memphis, who was one of the sponsors of that event, and one of the individuals who was arrested that day, too, on this show. And we talked a lot about that particular situation. So there you go. And one last point of personal privilege from your host. This is graduation season, and I want to congratulate all of the folks who graduated in class of 2026. Whether you're little, whether you're medium size, whether you're high school size, whether you're college size, all of you worked hard to get to that point in your life where you can say, I made it, and now I'm ready to move forward with my life. Well, I want to congratulate my son, David. He graduated last Thursday evening from Tennessee Southwest Community College, and he got his, there you go, that's what I'm talking about, Lulu's clapping, there you go, that's a nice thing. David Randall got his degree last Thursday night, and that's a nice thing to see. And especially when you watch somebody start from the beginning to the end, but that moment of when they call your name and you walk across that stage and you get that degree or diploma, that's a big, big deal. So congratulations to him, and congratulations to everybody else as well. Let's take a break, Bryn, and when we come back, let's get into this broadcast. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. Welcome to Real Talk Memphis. I'm so happy that you are with us. I'm Chip. You know who you are. Don't go away. We're just getting started.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
Hi there, 1D here on Gospel Talk back in the day, playing great gospel music and talking to artists from the past. Tune me in every Saturday from 12 o'clock noon until 2 o'clock p.m. on 91.7 FM Memphis.
Hey, this is Mike from Somewhere There. Tune in every Wednesday from 6 to 7. We'll go on a journey across genres and decades, only here at WYXR, 91.7 FM Memphis.
Last time. Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this beautiful Monday evening in the city. Warm, yeah. If you were wondering where summer is, it looks like it's seems like it's pretty doggone close. Because I don't know if it got to be 90 degrees today, but it felt awful close to it. In any event, glad to have you back with us on this broadcast, and very happy to have my first guest with us as well. She was with me a few weeks ago, but since then there has a lot has happened in the State House and many things in terms of. Decisions that have been made could absolutely change the landscape of what happens in Memphis and Shelby County. Please welcome back to the show State Representative Karen Camper. She is the Minority House Leader. And Karen, it's great to see you. Thank you for squeezing me in and taking some time for me this evening. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too, Chip. Glad to be here, always.
Obviously, I think this is before we talked. When last time we talked, I don't think the special session had happened yet, but it has happened now, and we know what happened, we know how it happened, and I saw the rally from you and a lot of your colleagues before all of this happened, and now we see that they've split the 9th District into 3 sections, District 5, District 8, and District 9. Also, there have been several lawsuits that have been filed as a result of all of this. One of them came back not in the favor of Congressman Steve Cohen, and he has since decided to drop out of this race. But Karen, let's just go back a minute to this special session, how it was done, and everything subsequently that has happened from there. Your thoughts?
Well, thank you, Chip. I appreciate you covering this and informing people and keeping people up to date on what's happening in Nashville. Oftentimes, Nashville seems a far, far land, but you bring it home to people. And I know people, with the everyday stuff they're doing. So I really appreciate you covering it. Yeah, so after the decision in Louisiana, the Cali decision, the governor decided to call us in for a special session so that they could redraw the lines for District 9, which we fought vigorously. We tried to get them not to do it. Don't bring us in for this. Bring us in for real things to help real people in their real lives. But they went ahead with it anyway.
Right.
We did hold a rally with, people came up from all over the state because they were concerned about it, because the one thing you could do is you could target one area, but it has a ripple effect. So it's also affected people all across the state. So people really wanted their voices to be heard. I was disappointed in redrawing the lines the way that they did. It diluted the black vote tremendously. It cut up our community. So, our communities are not whole anymore. It's going to have long-lasting impact on us if we don't do something about it in terms of turning people out to vote. A lot of symbolisms was in, how the speaker, at least in the House, did when he gave us a time allotted to speak on it. As a matter of fact, yesterday, May 17th, was the 72nd anniversary of Brown v. Board of Education.
Oh, wow. Okay.
One of the times on one of the bills that he gave us to debate was 17. And I think that was intentional, because when you added up the total number of minutes, it was 54. So
In
There was
1954,
symbols.
Brown. Yeah,
Yeah,
right, okay.
Brown. Yeah, and so what that also says to me that this is a part of a bigger, a broader issue where they're going to be attacking all of those states that benefited from Brown v. Board of Education. So you'll start seeing it happen in Mississippi, Arkansas. You'll start seeing it. It's already happening in Texas and Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas. So you'll start seeing this happening all over.
So, in reference to all of that, when we saw what happened and we saw, the final vote and everything, and I know, I can only imagine how you felt and some of your colleagues felt, but Speaker Sexton then came back out of the blue and sent you and several Democratic House members a fax basically stating that effective immediately, they were going to lose their committee positions. And I had to look at that 2 or 3 times just to make sure that I saw that correctly. I saw your statement when he sent you that letter. What was your reaction to all of that?
Well, I felt that the speaker was being petty, to be honest with you. He understood the magnitude of what they were doing. He understood that we were not going to just sit idly by and just let this happen to us. He understood that there would be outrage. He understood all of these things. He should have just sucked it up and went on. But I heard him in another interview where he said, well, I've got to punish them. So it's back to the mindset that he think we are like his children, that he need to punish us for our actions when we're fighting for our people. And so he did. He took all committee assignments away, with the exception now of a few other members. Now, there were a few members who were still on committees. And when I looked at, the website, you can see where they pulled everybody off.
Right.
You saw there were still some members still on there. Since then, at least two, maybe 3 of them have resigned in unison with the caucus, so that we're all standing tall together.
Okay.
The other committees, there's some committees that the rules require leadership to be on, so those committees are held intact. So we're not off of those committees, but I'm not going to none of them meetings.
He said, you ain't gonna be there no matter what. Well, it was highly insulting, and yeah, you used one of the quotes from you was, well, it's like they stuck us in the back with a knife, and then they took the knife and they just twisted it just so sort of finish the job. I mean, that's sort of how this felt. It really did.
It did. It really felt that way, and especially when along with what happened with the committees. But the other thing with respect to the numbers, when you add the total numbers up that we had to speak on our side, he did 47 for one bill, a nod to the president. But when you added all of those numbers up, it came to 74, which was the year Harold Ford Sr. was elected.
Oh my.
To represent us in Congress.
Oh my.
So it was intentional pain. It was intentional hurt.
Yeah.
It was intentional whistleblowing to people to share a signal to what they were doing in the likeness of day, and with all of these signals in there, and we just wasn't going to stand for it.
So here we are, and now the battle cry is on. As a state representative, as a pillar of this community, and as the House Minority Leader. What is the message now? What do people need to do? First of all, what do people need to understand about all of this? And what do they need to do? I heard you mention it earlier. It was the V word, vote. Does it concern you at all that we have such an apathetic voting record when it comes to going to the polls on election day and exercising our right to vote? Although we need that more than ever now. Am I correct in that?
You are correct in that. I think that this was not only a reminder to us about things, but this was also a warning to us. And we have to respond and do something about it. And the best way, to me, is to turn out and vote like never before. We have got to turn out in astronomical numbers across the state. We have got to send a message to the leadership, this Republican supermajority, that we're not going to stand by and just let this happen. When I came in the General Assembly, Democrats was in the majority. And we had the rural caucus was the biggest caucus, right? We had conservative Democrats. that I think at this moment in time has got to get off the bench. They have got to get re-engaged. We cannot let the Republicans think they own conservatorship, because they don't. We need independents up in arms about this. We need them engaged. Get off the bench, get engaged, and go vote. And we need to make sure we look at purge voters, inactive voters. We have got to not only register people, but I think that this issue has got people so upset that that's going to be the rallying call where people are going to want to come out and vote. They're going to want to make a change. They're not going to be as apathetic, maybe, as we have in the past, when they didn't think anything could change, or when they didn't think it was necessary for change, or whatever reason people stayed at home. Now is the time to get out and change that. And I feel like people are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing a lot more energy now, and I'm just praying that the energy will turn into something special. One thing you alluded to a minute ago in terms of voting blocks, the Democrats, there's the Republicans, and there's the independents. And the independents, based on numbers, seem to come out and vote more than anybody else does on either side of the line, on the Democratic side or the Republican side. So what you said about the independent voters, they really could be the key to all of this, could they not?
Yes, they can. Here's the thing. Everything in this country right now, and it's been this way for a while now, has been hyper politicized, hyper polarized, hyper partisan. So a lot of people have opted out and said, I'm tired of all of that. I'm just going to be independent.
Right.
And I'm going to vote. I'm going to participate.
Right.
But I'm just going to be independent. And that's what I think has happened. All of this polarization and all of this loud noise making people are just not claiming a party. But they do care about things and issues that are important to them. This is an issue that I feel is important to them, because their voices were taken away too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're going to want their voices heard and going to come out in a major way, not only in August, but in November as well.
One final thing, we've had this problem before in terms of elections and the number of people in these races. And, this is another example from what I see number-wise in districts 5, 8, and 9. You have over 8, 9, 10, 11 people running in each of these particular races. Does that bother you? Should we do something in terms of the system to maybe let us bring it down to maybe 2 candidates per, because the more candidates you have, at least from my experience, you fracture the vote, you split the vote. So I mean, I just didn't know, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think in a representative form of government, people feel as if their voices, that they have a voice that they want to be heard,
Okay.
that they want to represent, citizens from their vantage point, and they feel that there are people within the electorate that feels the same way that they do. So they decide to run for office. It's a representative form of government. That's why we have the primaries and the general. So in the primaries, it's kind of expected there'll be more than just 1 or 2 people running, to be honest, running so that the people decide, out of all of these voices that are out here, this is the one that we want to put forward in the general to represent us in whichever office, Congress in this case. So I get, how people really feel about that because of how it's been used in the past to split the black vote.
Yeah.
See, and I think that's the real concern that some people have, like you're going to end up splitting the black vote. But there's always a unity call afterwards, that people say, okay, we're over that now, all hands on deck, let's go and take this seat. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. But the other thing that, if you notice, I just saw it on TV a little while ago, the list is final now. You see a lot of independents running.
Yes, you do.
A lot of the big block is independents that are running. A lot of independents say, I'm going to run, and let my voice be heard. So that happens in a representative form of government.
Very interesting. State Representative Karen Camper, head leader of the Black Caucus, the minority House leader, excuse me, and thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. I know how busy you are, and I really appreciate you taking time to talk to me and our listeners about what is happening. We will, like you, we'll wait and see what happens down the road here and all of this. But thank you, my friend, for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Anything else come up, just call me. I have no problem coming on. And if something comes up I need to let you know about, I better be sending you something too, right?
You got me, boy. You know how to find me. Not a problem at all. Karen, thank you so much for it. I appreciate you.
All right, see ya.
There you go. State Representative Karen Camper laying out some truth about, look, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility here. So, I mean, how do you want this thing to go? A lot of this is up to you and all of us. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about mental health as pertains to our young people. This is Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
What's up, Memphis? It's your girl Shelby, aka DJ Rhinestone. If you're hungry for fresh funk, tune into Bread and Butter Radio from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on WYXR 91.7 FM.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this beautiful Monday evening in the city. Chip with you. Very happy to have you with us, and very happy to have my next guest with us. As I talked about a little bit at the beginning of the show, what bothers me these days in terms of our youth, young people component, is the fact that we're seeing a lot of violent episodes, and they seem to be involving our young folks, which tells me that there are problems, and many of those problems might be problems that we can't see that are underneath the surface. This is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I wanted to delve into this conversation. So I'm really happy to have on the show tonight Dr. Mallory Mitchell. Recently, Alliance Healthcare Services opened the doors to the Children and Youth Crisis Wellness Center, and Dr. Mitchell is the medical director of that area. And Dr. Mitchell, welcome to Real Talk Memphis. Really happy to have you on the show. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for taking some time. So, as stated, obviously, there are a lot of issues, and of course, that deal with so many individuals. Mental health is a problem here in Memphis and the Mid-South, as it is in many places across the country. But it's a big issue here, and I think that there's been more and more of a focus on it. But we hadn't really talked a lot about, or don't hear much about, the young folks in terms of all of this and what it's all about. Why is this component of mental health as pertains to our children and youth so very important for us to understand?
Absolutely. I think, there's just such a need to address mental health concerns in kids. And at the same time, there's not a lot of conversation.
Right.
Kids are facing a variety of stressors, and not only home and family stressors, there's school and academics. And then there's also things like bullying and social media involvement as well.
In reference to everything you just said is so true, and we hear too many times these days the tragic consequences as the end result of some of the issues that you talked about. And I think oftentimes we don't necessarily talk. And why is that? And you've been doing this, what you've been doing for a very long time, but why is it that we don't seem to embrace a conversation about our young people or even think about them when we talk about mental health and mental health concerns?
I think there's definitely been a movement to do so. And oftentimes we don't really consider maybe the mental and emotional health needs of younger people. We think of them being developmentally in a very happy, joyful place in their lives, but recognizing that they also struggle at times with sadness or anxiety or moods that go up and down or feeling angry.
As a medical director of this particular Children and Youth Crisis Wellness Center, what is your, as you take this on now and you survey the landscape, so to speak, what are some of the things that you want your staff to be able to address? And what should people know about how important it is when dealing with young folks who have emotional issues, that there is a place like this for them to be able to come?
So in our staff, we've really prioritized having care that is trauma informed. So when we think about trauma informed care, we want to recognize that youth may have experienced really difficult or overwhelming events. And we really want to understand how these events can impact their behavior and their emotions and relationships. So instead of saying, hey, what might be wrong with this child, we really want to take the approach of maybe what's happened to this child, what have they experienced, and most importantly, what are the ways that we can make them feel safe and supported?
There's a term that has been used. It's called ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. I know that you're familiar with that. And the more folks that I talk to, and that topic seems to come up from time to time, that really is something very, very critical, that maybe most of us in today's society don't think about or don't concern ourselves with. But that in and of itself, adverse childhood experiences do a lot to define the course of a young person. Am I correct in that in terms of what they may have experienced in the past? Please talk about that a little bit.
No, definitely. So adverse childhood experiences or negative events early on in your development can have a huge impact on your mood and behavioral health and even your progress and success in adulthood. Mm-hmm. So things like experiencing physical or emotional abuse, but also, poverty, food insecurity, witnessing domestic violence as well.
That's pretty heavy stuff for a child to carry. One of the things that you mentioned earlier in terms of what young people go through is bullying. And we have seen, to me, it seems like there is an increase in the negative aspect of bullying to where young people can't take it anymore emotionally, and they just want to just shut down, and they end up committing suicide and taking their own life. There's nothing to me sadder than a child 13, 14, 15 years old that decides to take their own life, and that as the end result of all of that, it comes from bullying. How does one deal with that works in an area like you do?
Oh, absolutely. Bullying can be a major concern, and all of us, even with experiencing the same types of trauma, can react in different ways. So I think one of the most important things that we can do as a community is making sure that we're checking in with kids about what they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis at school, and then just having open conversations about emotions and how we're coping.
A lot of times when children get to be of a certain age, particularly preteens or right around in that area, their personalities start to change a little bit, and they think they're a little bit more grown than they really are. And so conversations that one as a parent would have with their children can oftentimes be strained, and there's a little pressure there in terms of trying to understand what your child is all about. how important is it? And I'm sure that when you talk to families about this, for people to understand that children have not emotionally developed yet. So you can't talk to them like I'm talking to you. You have to talk to a child on their own level. How important is that to be able to talk to a child where they are versus anything else?
Yes, I think meeting them where they are is key. And I often think the best approach is having these like low pressure opportunities where you have a conversation on a day-to-day basis instead of waiting till we're already in a crisis. So simple questions like, what's the hardest part of your day, go a long way for kids. And then I also think that as adults and grownups and caregivers, how we model talking about our emotions, labeling our emotions when we're having a feeling, and how we cope and take care of ourselves is really impactful, especially for teens and adolescents.
Yeah, and actually, it's kind of secular, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of us as older folks, we may have had some difficult times and some difficult experiences growing up and sets of circumstances. I know I had some difficult days when I was a young person as well. And so that's why I find this to be so extraordinarily valuable and a component that you all at Alliance thought that it was important enough to really delve into. Now, you guys just opened the doors, right? You guys are up and ready for business, right? Am I correct in that?
We will be up and ready for business on June the 1st.
June the 1st. Okay, so we're still getting things lined up, still getting things in order and everything, right? Are you getting excited about it?
Yes, we are so excited to welcome the community. We feel like this is going to be such a great space for the community. There's definitely a need there to continue these ongoing conversations. And with mental health, there can be barriers to access, especially in young people with a shortage of providers and long wait time. So we're just so excited about this space where families can really get that immediate care that they need right when they need it.
Well, listen, I want to thank you again for taking the time to come on the show and talk about this, because this is something that needs to be talked about, and an opportunity for families and young people, a place for them to come and be able to talk about what is going on with them and find out that they're not alone and that there is help available. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mallory Mitchell, she is the medical director for the Children and Youth Crisis Wellness Center. And I really thank you for coming on the show tonight. Thank you so much. The best of luck to you. And I hope to be able to tap into you down the road once the doors get open and once the wheels get turning on everything. But between now and then, the best of luck for everything. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate that. Dr. Mallory Mitchell, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Mental health is not just, an issue that we think about when we're talking about older folks. These young folks are going through stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff that is happening. The pull of the streets, the friends and the bullying and a lot of other things happen. It's tough stuff. So I was really happy to be able to get her on the show. And thank all of those who helped to make that happen. Let us take another break, our final break. When we come back, we're going to take a walk back in history and learn a little something about civil rights. This is Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. Don't you dare go away. We are not done yet.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
Hey guys, you're listening to 4-5s. This is DJ Grand Piano, where I play all the soulful tunes from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Tune in each Sunday from 5 to 6 p.m. And remember, if the 4 don't get you, the 5 will.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to the show. As we talked about earlier, many folks are starting to realize and understand that this redistricting issue is just it's bigger than redrawing lines. And for many folks, this is a walk backwards into history that was not real pleasant, especially back in the 60s. So I wanted to have someone on the show that could walk us through this and really kind of make it clear as to what is happening, what happened back in the civil rights era, and how this is eerily reminiscent. Please welcome to the show Dr. Charles McKinney. He's a professor at Rhodes College and a civil rights expert. And Dr. McKinney, it is great to have you on the show tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on.
Good to see you. And you and I talked offline the other day, and started to get deep with this conversation. But you see where things are now. You see what is happening around this country, more directly here in Memphis, Tennessee, where you and I both reside, in terms of the redistricting of District 9 into 3 separate districts. Your overall view of what happened and where we go from here in your perspective.
Sure. Again, thanks for having me on. In a nutshell, what we're seeing is a victory of the forces of segregation and racial subordination. The dismantling of the 9th congressional district after the gutting of the Voting Rights Act. Basically, Tennessee and Alabama and all these southern states are doing exactly what we knew they would do once the Voting Rights Act was gutted, which was to try to take us back to pre-1965, pre-voting rights, where states could reign supreme in terms of gerrymandering and redistricting and doing anything and everything to specifically dilute Black electoral power. And so what we've seen happen in Memphis, in Tennessee in 2026, is the forces of segregation again rising in a very particular and explicitly racist, segregationist, anti-Black way. Right? They're trying to take us back to the 1920s, the 1930s. They're trying to take us back to an era before Black electoral power was recognized and reckoned with. That's where we are. That's not hyperbole. That is not exaggeration. That is where we are right now.
Have you ever thought to yourself, given what we are seeing now, that we would ever go back in time and history to those very dark days that you just referred to, and exactly what is happening here? Did you ever think that in 2026 we would be in a situation like this? And a lot of this, now I know you teach this, but a lot of this for many people is something very new and something very different because we're not taught about real civil rights history. But did you ever think you would ever see this?
I mean, when you listen to enough civil rights activists, when you listen to enough people who did this work in the 1950s and 60s, when you listen to folks who bled and fought and died, and when you dig into the civil rights literature, one of the things that you see, one of the voices is a voice of warning, which is to say, right, that that these rights that are given to you by legislation can be taken away by legislation. Rights that are given you by court orders can be taken away by court orders, right? So for a contingent of people, right, who were ever vigilant and who sadly were have been proven to be correct, right? Congress giveth and Congress taketh away. The Supreme Court giveth, the Supreme Court taketh away. We hoped we would not get to this place, right? But with the election of Donald Trump, with the election of the first sort of openly white nationalist president that we've had openly white nationalists that we've had in a little while now, right? We saw the stars start to align in some very specific sorts of ways, right? John Roberts has a long history before he even got to the Supreme Court, before Bush, appointed him to the Supreme Court. The Chief Justice of the United States has a 40-year-long history of animosity towards the Voting Rights Act. Right, he thought that act was unconstitutional when it was passed. He worked aggressively in a number of conservative Republican administrations to try to figure out how to do what they wound up actually doing. Right, so you've got a contingent of folks who've been watching this. You've got a contingent of folks who've said, look, you know what, heads up, Democratic Party. You know what, if you're not careful, this is the road we're going to go down. Symbolic victories are not enough. Electing Black people in particularly, in high offices, that's great. That's wonderful. That's not enough. We've got to watch the court. We've got to watch Congress, because if the stars align in a particular sort of way, these rights can be assaulted in a very real way. And that's what we've seen happen.
How detrimental is it from your perspective that young folks today don't really have a resource in terms of school to learn about what happened to us as a people, the civil rights movement, and so many things? They're being stripped from the history books. Basically, our history in this country is being wiped away. How detrimental is that, especially in today's society?
It's very detrimental. We live in an age now where social media has resulted in this extreme fragmentation of knowledge, extreme fragmentation of information. So, 100 different people can go and get information that may or may not be accurate from 100 different sources, 100 different places and spaces across across social media. So that's a big problem. I would suggest to us that the larger problem is this: if you went back 100 years, back to 1926, and told Black people that the primary place where Black folk are going to learn their history is the public schools, they would have looked at you like you were crazy. They would have looked at you like, that's absolutely absurd. What are you talking about? What do you mean the schools are going to be the only place where Black people are going to learn Black history, or anybody else is going to learn Black history? That's what churches are for. That's what institutions and organizations are for. That's what the Divine Nine is for. That's what the Elks Club is for. That's what all of the organizations and associations produced and packed by Black people. That's their job too. Right. So that's the other challenge that we have in this moment. Right. This expectation that the primary institution that's going to be responsible for the teaching of Black history is the state of Tennessee. Seriously? This is what we're thinking? This is how we're operating right now? How's that working out for us?
Yeah.
Right? It's not working out at all. And so one of the things that's going to happen is we're going to have a reckoning, particularly in Black communities. If we are invested in people understanding our history from civil rights and beyond, then Black organizations and institutions are going to have to step up. As I tell people all the time, and this is why I'm getting fewer and fewer speaking invitations. I tell folks all the time, if you are in an organization of Black folk and you got 50 or 4 members and you're not thinking seriously about how to educate Black people, you're failing us. You're failing us. Divine Nine, you've got thousands of members in Shelby County or whatever. You're not engaged in the battle over the battle of education. You're failing us. Churches, major churches, not churches with 20 and 30 members, but maybe them too. Churches with 2,000 and 3,000 members. You're not directly engaged in the education of Black people. You're not directly engaged in the promotion of African American history or civil rights history or the history of our struggle. You're not doing that work. You're failing. You're failing Black people. It's all hands on deck. This is an emergency. And for us to sit back fat and lazy, acting as if the schools are the sole places where people are supposed to learn our history, that's surrender. That's ridiculous. It's time to buck up and do better.
Before I let you go, obviously we are in a situation where it's a call to arms. How important is getting out and voting in this particular time that we're in?
Voting is essential. But as activists will also tell you, right, voting is probably the most crucial weapon in our arsenal. It is not the only one. Right? If you want to be serious about Martin King, if you want to be serious about the civil rights struggle, about the Black power struggle, if you want to be serious about how Black people acquire power, that conversation always has to be about the vote plus blank. What else are we willing to do collectively to make our voices heard? When Martin King came to Memphis 60 plus years ago, he says, you know what, Memphis, y'all could do this if you want, Black folk. It's not enough for the sanitation workers to be on strike. It's time for y'all need to be talking about a general strike. Everybody needs to stop working. Let's do that for a week. Let's stop delivering the boxes. Let's stop delivering the mail. Let's stop teaching students. Let's shut the city down for a week. Let's see what that does. So politics, always crucial. Get out and vote, get out and vote, get out and vote. The other thing that's crucial in this moment is we're not going to TikTok, we're not going to social media, we're not going to Facebook our way out of this. That's an individualistic effort. Join an organization. Find an organization of people who are thinking progressively and collectively about this issue. Hit up the NAACP, Shelby County Voter Alliance, Equity Alliance, Memphis Artists for Change. Find an organization that's dedicated to this work. Join that organization and join the fight. You're not helping us by sitting behind your computer just typing up mad posts.
Dr. Charles McKinney, ladies and gentlemen, Rhodes College professor and civil rights expert. Dr. McKinney, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your schedule to come on my show tonight and talk with us. I look forward to having more conversations with you as time moves forward and as we progress forward. But I really want to thank you for being with me tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely that. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. That's a lot to think about. It's a lot to think about. And, time out for not hurting folks' feelings and being sensitive about things like this. This is a critical time in this country's history. This is a critical time in Memphis and Shelby County history as well. And the one thing he said that really got my attention, because I talk about this a lot, is parents and grandparents up the line. You need to take some time and get your children, sit them down and talk to them about the history of your family, the history of this city, what is happening. Explain things to them so they know and understand. If you want young people to be engaged in the process, then you have to do your part by engaging them in the process. And if they don't know, then how can they move forward? That is the real issue. We got to stop, let them do the TikTok and the Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And you doing the same as a lot of grown folks that do this every single day as well about complaining about. Take your kids and have a conversation with them, because after Dr. McKinney and Chip and a lot of us other old heads are going to be gone, we have a future generation to prepare to get ready for what comes next. Okay, I'm done. And we're done on the show tonight. I really appreciate you. Brent Butler, ladies and gentlemen, my guy, my board producer sitting to my right. He's got a fresh, all-new edition of Event Horizon coming up. Brent, how you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, Chip.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, we got a good show. I'm excited. It's going to be a loud one, though.
Oh, it's going to be loud, right? Prepare for that.
Warning.
Yeah, warning. It's going to be loud. By the way, just the program note, we will not be on the air next week. Next Monday is, what is it, Memorial Day? Memorial Day. Yeah, so, we won't be on next Monday, but we'll be back in 2 weeks. So, between now and then, as Brent plays us out, and thank you, Brent, don't go anywhere. He'll be up in a minute. Just in a minute, he'll be up. But go out and make it a great week, okay? But unfortunately, I hear that the rain is going to be with us like for the next several days, so according to after starting tomorrow. But make the best of it and enjoy yourself. Have a good weekend this coming weekend. And I don't know, before I get out, something big is happening this week. I feel it in my bones. Literally, something big is happening this week. You guys might find out about it in the next 2 or 3 days, so we'll figure all that out. But in the meantime, thank you, Memphis, for supporting what we do here each and every week on Real Talk Memphis. I truly appreciate it, and I always appreciate my guests taking the time to come on and talk to all of us about whatever they talk about. It's always invaluable, and it is always very important. So for all of us here, for Lulu, for Brent, who's coming up right next with a all-new, fresh, loud Event Horizon, and for your humble host, me. Have a great week. Be safe, be careful, and we are out.